so that they had the sight back here and they could look around the corner to see what they were shooting.
World War II gave way to numerous new and innovative weapons that still exist today.
The Nazis were delighted because they had a new piece of armory in their propaganda machine.
Join us as we look at the Nazis' deadliest weapons still being used today and many more. Introduction. A major part of World War II was played by technology. Certain technologies were created in the 1920s and 1930s, during the years between the wars. Many were created as the war was concluding in reaction to the demands and lessons discovered through it. Though several conflicts have had a significant impact on the technologies we use daily, World War II had the biggest impact on the gadgets and technology of today. More so than in any other war in history, technology was also essential to the way World War II was fought and to its conclusion. Major breakthroughs happened in several disciplines, and many kinds of technologies were adapted for military application. Throughout World War II, military weapons technology advanced quickly, and warfare in everything from aircraft to small arms changed at a dizzying rate over a 6-year period. In fact, most armies started the conflict using technology that had not changed much from World War I and had, in some cases, not altered since the 19th century. For example, in 1940, cavalry, trenches, and battleships from World War I were commonplace. Yet, 6 years later, armies all over the world had produced jet aircraft, ballistic missiles, and even atomic bombs in the United States. The first conflict when military actions frequently targeted the enemy's scientific efforts was World War II. In our thumbnail, we can see a soldier with a weapon used during World War II. As the war progressed, more modern weapons were being introduced to help fight the enemy, and some of these weapons are still being used today. Hugo Schmeisser. Hugo Schmeisser was a German infantry weapon designer of the 20th century. His father, Louis Schmeisser, was a well-known European firearm inventor. Hugo Schmeisser was largely active in the Thuringian arms manufacturing city of Suhl. Theodor Bergmann's name recognition and weapon manufacture in the years preceding and during World War I are intimately linked to his submachine guns. Schmeisser also got his basic instruction in weaponry technology at Bergmann, where machine gun rounds in 7.63 and 9mm were being studied. His knowledge in machine gun technology was crucial, hence he stayed in Suhl throughout World War I. Schmeisser had been working on his greatest project since 1938. Because of its shorter 7.92mm cartridge, this revolutionary automatic weapon made high production and wise use of resources. First known as the MKB-42, it was then given the MP-43 designation and went on to become one of the first assault rifles. 10,000 had been produced for the front by 1943. Hitler momentarily halted manufacture because he seemed to be against the new weapon. Hitler gave the go-ahead to mass manufacture of the MP-43 and additional development into a new version of the weapon in 1944 after soldier testing confirmed its efficiency. April 1944 saw the new weapon given the designation Sturmgewehr 44. Arguably, Schmeisser's greatest weapon creation was the STG-44. STG-44. The German assault rifle Hugo Schmeisser designed during World War II is the STG-44. Additionally known by its early designations as the MP-43 and MP-44, it improved upon an earlier design, the Machine and Carabiner 42, and became the STG-44. With its intermediate cartridge, regulated automatic fire, smaller size than a battle rifle with a higher rate of fire, and main design for killing targets within a few hundred meters, the STG-44 was the first effective assault rifle. Although other rifles of the day were made to hit targets at longer ranges, it was discovered that this was beyond the range where most enemy encounters really occurred. Especially in the Eastern Front, the STG-44 served its purpose admirably by providing a far higher firepower than ordinary infantry rifles. 2 years after the war was over, the Soviet AK-47 was introduced, much influenced by the STG current assault rifles, which became the international standard for infantry weapons, are nevertheless influenced by the STG Bren light machine gun. Bren light machine gun. Made in Britain in the 1930s, the Bren gun was a family of light machine guns that saw service in a variety of capacities until 1992. Best known for serving as the main infantry LMG of the British and Commonwealth forces during World War II, it was also employed in the Korean War and saw action in the later half of the 20th century, including the 1982 Falklands War. Though it came with a bipod, it could also be affixed to a tripod or a car. The ZBVZ-26, which British Army officials had evaluated during a guns service competition in the 1930s, was converted into the Czechoslovak ZGB-33 light machine gun, which was the licensed version of the Bren gun. The later Bren gun included a conical flash hider, rapid change barrel, and distinctive top-mounted curved box magazine. The designer was the engineer and rifle inventor, Václav Holek. Many Bren weapons were converted in the 1950s to feed from the magazine for the L1 rifle, as the L4 light machine gun, and rebarreled to take the 7.62 by 51mm NATO ammunition. As the section LMG, it was superseded in the British Army by the belt-fed L7 general-purpose machine gun. The L86 light support weapon, which fires the 5.56 by 45mm NATO round, replaced this in the 1980s, leaving the Bren gun primarily for use as a pintle mount on select vehicles. Bren guns were produced by Indian ordnance factories under the name Gun Machine 7.62mm 1B until they were phased out in 2012. John Browning M1911 pistol, another Army weapon. The 45 ACP cartridge is chambered in the single-action, recoil-operated Colt M1911 semi-automatic pistol. John Browning's designs for the M1911 are most well known for incorporating the short recoil principle into its fundamental construction. After the handgun was extensively replicated, this operating system emerged as the most popular one of the 20th century and almost all contemporary centerfire pistols. Over its service life, the U.S. military acquired about 2.7 million M1911 and M1911A1 pistols. From 1911 to 1985, the United States Armed Forces issued the handgun as a regular issue sidearm. It was put to extensive usage in the Korean, Vietnam, World Wars I and II. In 1985, the 9mm Beretta M9 pistol was designated as the official sidearm of the United States military, superseding the M1911A1. However, production and procurement issues kept the 1911A1 in service with some units into 1989. The U.S. Army did not formally replace the 1911A1 with the Beretta M9 until October of 1986. Never has the 1911A1 been totally phased out. Some American Army Special Forces, Marine Corps, and Navy organizations continue to employ updated derivative versions of the M1911. M1918 Browning Automatic Rifle. The Browning automatic rifle family of American automatic rifles and machine guns was in use in the 20th century by the U.S. and many other nations. The M1918, chambered for the 30-06 Springfield rifle cartridge, was the main variant of the Bar series, created by John Browning in 1917 for the American Expeditionary Forces in Europe to replace the French-made Chauchat and M1909 Benet Mercier machine guns that U.S. forces had earlier been supplied. The BR was intended to be fired from the hip or to be carried by infantrymen during an assault advance while supported by the sling over their shoulders. During trench warfare, this idea known as walking fire is believed to be essential for each soldier individually. As either a rifle or a machine gun, the Bar never quite lived up to the War Department's initial expectations. Often firing from a bipod, the U.S. Army employed the BR as a light machine gun in actual combat. Though the standard 20-round magazine of the Colt Monitor machine rifle, a variation of the original M1918 bars, tended to limit its usefulness in that capacity. It is still the lightest production automatic weapon chambered for the .30, 06 Springfield cartridge. Though the Bar was used in combat in late 1918 during World War I, it was not made a standard issue weapon by the U.S. Army until 1938, when squads were given it as a portable light machine gun. Limited service was seen by the Bar in the Vietnam War, but it saw significant service in both World Wars II and Korea. Long-ranges bolt-action rifles were standard issue. From its formal introduction in 1895 until 1957, the Lee Enfield, a bolt-action magazine-fed repeating rifle, was the standard service rifle of the British Armed Forces and the principal weapon of the British Empire and Commonwealth during the first half of the 20th century. The previous Martini Henry, Martini Enfield, and Lee Metford rifles were replaced by the Lee Enfield, a redesign of the Lee Metford. 1 round at a time or with the use of 5-round chargers, the 10-round box magazine was manually loaded with the 303 British cartridge from the top. Rifle companies of the British Army, colonial armies, and other Commonwealth countries were issued Lee Enfields as regular issue weapons throughout both the First and Second World Wars. Though the 7.62mm L42A1 sniper variant remained in use into the 1990s, it was formally superseded in the United Kingdom by the L1A1 SLR in 1957 and remained in extensive British service until the early or mid-1960s. It is the second longest-serving military bolt-action rifle still in official service, behind the Mosin Nagant, and is still in use as standard issue infantry rifle in the armed forces of several Commonwealth countries, most notably with the Bangladesh Police. Captain Petery. Once bright uniforms and close order tactics were given up, soldiers in World War I began to observe that combat was not taking place at long ranges because they could not actually see targets beyond a certain distance. Part of the German General Staff's Small Arms Examination Committee in Berlin, Captain Petery made a presentation in the spring of 1918 advocating for the introduction of an intermediate round in the German army with a suitable weapon. Firefights, he noted, hardly extended past 870 yards, or around half the 1.2-mile sightline range of the 7.92 by 57mm cartridge from a Mauser-Gewehr 98 rifle or less for an MG08 machine gun. A less powerful, shorter round would save materials, let soldiers carry more rounds, and boost firepower. Even though in his paper he referred to it as a submachine gun, less recoil would enable semi-automatic or even fully automatic select fire weapons. As it already had the MP-18 submachine gun firing 9mm pistol rounds and did not want to develop a new cartridge, the German army showed little interest. Gewehr 98. Made by Mauser for the German Empire as its service rifle from 1898 to 1935, the Gewehr 98 is a bolt-action rifle. Using a 5-round stripper clip filled with the 7.92 by 57mm Mauser cartridge, the Gewehr 98 action effectively merged and enhanced several bolt-action engineering innovations that were subsequently embraced by the United States, Japan, and the United Kingdom. The main German service rifle displaced by the Gewehr 98 was the older Gewehr 1888. The principal German infantry service rifle of World War I, it was initially used in battle during the Chinese Boxer Rebellion. Spanish nationalists and the Ottoman Empire both made additional military use of the Gewehr 98. A carbine version of the same design, the Karabiner 98K, eventually superseded it for the Wehrmacht in Nazi Germany from 1935 until 1945. The real story behind the legendary STG-44. German engineer Hugo Schmeisser found 7.92mm rifles problematic for trench storming during World War I. He created a compact automatic weapon using pistol-caliber bullets that traded long-range accuracy for lightweight, compact form, and reduced recoil. The Bergmann machine and pistol MP-18, produced in 1917, weighed 9 pounds and had an ungainly side-mounted snail drum magazine. But stormtroops trained to seize enemy trenches liked it. The Heereswaffenamt developed a mid-range cartridge with a shorter case and lower powder charge that could reach 400 meters in 1934. In 1938, the AMT contracted the CG Haenel Waffenfabrik to develop a machine carbine for the 7.92 by 33mm Infantry Kurspatron, or short cartridge, that could be used as a submachine gun and squad automatic rifle and used stamped metal parts to simplify production. Hugo Schmeisser, Haenel's chief design engineer, set the barrel and stock in a straight line to reduce recoil shock, gave the trigger hand a pistol grip, and raised the sights, a V-sight aft and a hooded sight up front, above the barrel. The gun was metal safe for the buttstock, and gas action operated the bolt piston. Schmeisser had his basics by 1940, but technical issues prevented its adoption. Since the Haenel facility could only handle modest amounts of machining, it outsourced the stamping tools to ERMA and Märzwerke, who modified some of the parts. Despite 1941 subcontractor arrangements and Haenel's final assembly, tooling up for production was delayed, and the first 50 prototypes were not available until July 1942. After learning about the weapon's development, Karl Walther entered the non-existent competition with 2 of his own designs by July 1942. Early Haenel machine. Carbine MKB-42s were airdropped to German forces in Russia, where they performed effectively. However, this prompted further bids from gun companies like Mauser, Steyr, and ERMA, slowing manufacturing. In March 1943, Adolf Hitler was briefed on the project and recommended canceling it since the Kurz bullet would strain manufacturing of normal 7.9mm rifle rounds, already stored in the millions. Despite its popularity, Haenel had only produced 8,000 MKB-42s. After Hitler objected, the Heereswaffenamt renamed the weapon the Maschinenpistole 43 and began manufacturing it. Hitler left MP-43 production after learning about the ruse due to positive Eastern Front reports. The MP-43, one, was more versatile and could be equipped with a grenade launcher or optical sights. The MP-43 was updated in 1944 with more stamped parts to speed production. Later, the MP-44 was renamed the STG-44 for propaganda. However, the designation was apt because the STG-44 could be used as a submachine gun for assault troops or a reasonably accurate single-shot rifle at 50 to 200 yards. By 1945, the STG-44 had produced 425,977 assault rifles, but the forces arrayed against it were too strong to save the Third Reich in May 1945. The STG-44 was ahead of its time and had a major impact on Allied soldiers. The M16 assault rifle and M4 carbine were developed after the war by the US military to be more adaptable. The Soviet Union also wanted a weapon to replace the 1891 Mosin-Nagant rifle and PPS-H-41 submachine gun, the 7.62 by 39 M43 round, and Mikhail Kalashnikov's simpler, more robust assault rifle, the Avtomat Kalashnikova 47, entered Soviet service in 1948 and became the most produced and frequently used firearm in history. SVT-40, another Army weapon. The SVT-40 is a Soviet semi-automatic battle rifle that was widely used during and after World War II. It was supposed to be the Soviet Red Army's new service rifle, but manufacture was halted by the German invasion in 1941, forcing a return to the Mosin-Nagant rifle for the duration of World War II. PPS-H-41, another Army weapon. The PPS-H-41 submachine gun uses the 7.62 by 25mm Tokarev round and fired selectively with an open bolt and blowback mechanism. Georgy Shpagin of the Soviet Union designed it as a cheaper and simpler alternative to the PPD-40. The PPS-H-41 saw considerable battle in World War II and the Korean War. During World War II, the Red Army used it as one of its primary infantry weapons, producing approximately 6 million PPS-H-41s. The firearm was mostly built of stamped steel and could be loaded with either a box or drum magazine. MP-40. The MP-40 is a submachine gun designed for the 9 by 19mm parabellum cartridge. It was created in Nazi Germany and widely employed by the Axis nations during World War II. Heinrich Vollmer designed it in 1938, drawing inspiration from its predecessor, the MP-38. It was widely used by infantrymen, paratroopers on the Eastern and Western fronts, and armored fighting vehicle crews. Its innovative and modern characteristics made it a favorite among soldiers, and it became popular in countries around the world following the war. The Allies nicknamed it Schmeisser after Hugo Schmeisser, the designer of the MP-18, even though he was not involved in the design or construction of the MP-40. Other variations of the weapon included the MP-40I and MP-41. From 1940 to 1945, Irma Werk manufactured an estimated 1.1 million. M1 Garand, another Army weapon. The M1 Garand, sometimes known as the M1, is a semi-automatic rifle used by the United States Army during World War II and the Korean War. The rifle is chambered for the .30 06 Springfield cartridge and named after John Garand, a Canadian-American inventor. It was the first standard-issue autoloading rifle in the United States. By most accounts, the M1 rifle performed admirably. It was considered the greatest battle implement ever devised by General George S. Patton. In 1936, the M1 succeeded the bolt-action M1903 Springfield as the United States service rifle, and on March 26, 1958, it was replaced by the selective-fire M14 rifle. M1A1 Carbine, another Army weapon. The M1A1 Carbine is a weapon developed in 1941 to replace the Colt M1911 pistol and the M1 Garand rifle. Despite criticism for its stopping power at close and long range, millions of M1A1 carbines were manufactured before the conclusion of World War II. The M1 carbine replaced the M1917 Enfield rifle, which was used by cooks, non-commissioned officers, radio operators, tank crews, machine gun crews, and mortar teams. The M1 carbine, which replaced the Colt 45 pistol, employed an intermediate .30 carbine round, an in-between cartridge known as the .45 ACP, and the .30 06 round. The Winchester Repeating Arms Factory designed the design in 1941. The M1A1 carbine, a later type, was created specifically for airborne units. This revolutionary carbine had a collapsible stock and a flatter bolt. By the conclusion of World War II, the M1 and M1A1 carbines could deploy a bayonet to improve close-quarters combat. The bayonet lunge was not seen during World War II. By the Korean War, the carbine had a new look and could fire in full auto. This was designated the M2 carbine and could hold a 30-round box magazine. Throughout the Vietnam War, both US and Viet Cong troops employed the M2. By the conclusion of the Vietnam War, the carbine series had been phased out, owing to its low stopping power and the introduction of the M16 series. The M1 and M1A1 carbine are often regarded as the first mass-produced personal defense weapons. FG-42. The FG-42 is a selective fire, 7.92 by 57 millimeters, Mauser automatic rifle manufactured in Nazi Germany during World War II. In 1942, the weapon was developed exclusively for use by the Fallschirmjäger airborne troops and was only employed in small numbers until the conclusion of the war. It combined the attributes and firepower of a light machine gun in a lightweight design that was somewhat shorter than the standard-issue Carabiner 98K bolt-action infantry rifle. The FG-42, regarded as one of World War II's most advanced weapon designs, had an impact on post-war small weapons development. When the U.S. Army produced the M60 machine gun, they duplicated many of its design elements, including the basic shape, stock type, gas-rotating bolt mechanism, and sheet metal and plastic construction. Gewehr 43. Germany created the Gewehr 43, also known as the Karabiner 43, a semi-automatic rifle with a 7.92 by 57 millimeters Mauser caliber during World War II. The design was based on the previous G41, but it used an upgraded short-stroke piston gas system akin to the Soviet SVT-40, MKB-42. During World War II, Walther designed the Maschinenkarabiner 42, also known as the MKB-42, an early German assault rifle in 1940 and 41. The Sturmgewehr 44 assault rifle was preceded by the MKB-42 and the more successful Maschinenkarabiner 42, both designed by Hänel. Krummlauf. The Krummlauf is a bent barrel attachment for the Sturmgewehr 44 rifle developed by Germany during World War II. The curved barrel featured a periscope sighting mechanism for firing around corners at a safe distance. Zielgerät 1229. The ZG-1229 Vampire 1229, sometimes known as Vampire, was an active infrared device designed for the Wehrmacht's Sturmgewehr 44 assault rifle during World War II, mainly for nighttime use. C.G. Hänel designed the Vampire, which was utilized in small quantities on the Eastern Front. The system was substantial, with the device and a huge battery backpack weighing 15 kilos combined. The grenadier carrying this was referred to as a Nachtjäger. AK-47, another Army weapon. The AK-47, or Avtomat Kalashnikova, is a gas-operated assault rifle chambered for the 7.62 by 39 millimeters cartridge. It was created in the Soviet Union by Russian small arms designer Mikhail Kalashnikov and serves as the foundation for the Kalashnikov rifle family. After more than 7 decades, the AK-47 and its variations remain among the most popular and commonly used guns in the world. The design work on the AK-47 began in 1945. It was presented for official military trials in 1947, and in 1948, the fixed stock version was put into active service for selected Soviet Army formations. In early 1949, the Soviet Armed Forces formally approved the AK, which was then utilized by most Warsaw Pact members. The model and its derivatives' global appeal stems from their dependability in tough environments, low production costs, availability in almost every geographic region, and ease of use. The AK has been manufactured in various countries and used by armed forces, irregular forces, and insurgents all over the world. In the year 2004, of the estimated 500 million firearms worldwide, approximately 100 million belong to the Kalashnikov family, 3/4 of which are AK-47s. The model serves as the foundation for the construction of a wide range of solo, crew-served, and specialty guns. M16 rifle. The M16 rifle is a family of military weapons modified from the Armalite AR-15 rifle for use by the United States military. The original M16 rifle was a 5.56 by 45 mm automatic weapon with a 20-round magazine. The M16 first entered U.S. military service in 1964, and the following year it was employed for jungle warfare operations during the Vietnam War. The M16A1 became the standard service rifle for the United States military in 1969, succeeding the M14. The M16A1 included several changes, such as a bolt assist, chrome-plated bore, protective strengthening around the magazine release, and a reworked flash hider. The M16A2 rifle was first adopted by the U.S. Marine Corps in 1983, followed by the U.S. Army in 1986. The M16A2 rifle uses the improved 5.56 by 45 mm ammunition and features an adjustable rear sight, case deflector, heavier barrel, improved handguard, pistol grip, and buttstock. It also has a semi-auto and 3-round burst firing option. The M16A4, adopted in July 1997, is the 4th iteration of the M16 series. It comes with a removable carrying handle and a Picatinny rail for mounting optics and other accessories. Other military forces have widely embraced the M16 around the world. The total global output of M16s is around 8 million, making it the most widely produced rifle of the 5.56 mm caliber. The U.S. military has mainly replaced the M16 in frontline combat units with the M4 Carbine, which is shorter and lighter. In April 2022, the United States Army chose the SIG-MCX Spear as the winner of the Next Generation Squad Weapon Program to replace the M16 or M4. The rifle's designation is XM7. STG-44 used in Vietnam War. Historically, the STG-44 was deployed in Vietnam by the French Far East Expeditionary Corps during the early years of the First Indochina War. According to some reports, the STG-44 was primarily utilized by the French Foreign Legion, as many of the legionnaires were Germans who had served with the Wehrmacht during World War II. During the First Indochina War, the People's Army of Vietnam captured many STG-44s from French forces. By the conclusion of the war, they had also buried their weapons in covert arms caches throughout South Vietnam, before departing for North Vietnam in accordance with the Geneva Agreements of 1954. During the Vietnam War, from 1960 to 1965, the Viet Cong, or members of the National Liberation Front of South Vietnam, dug and utilized hidden weaponry caches of the former Viet Minh, due to a lack of automatic weapons. Again, many STG-44s were employed during the Vietnam War. It's incredible to think that there are over 500 million weapons worldwide. It says a lot about humanity. What is your opinion about this? Why don't you let us know in the comments below? Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give us a like and let us know in the comments what you think. Check out our other videos and subscribe to be part of the fun. Click on the notification icon so you can see our new videos as soon as they're uploaded. Thank you for watching and see you next time.